So this week, a proburger, hoping to become a hero among all proburgers, sent a certified letter off to Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador requesting, yes, requesting, the audacity, requesting that they open an investigation into the Moscow Police Department for, I don't know, he apparently thinks they broke the law, committed crime, something, because inmate 163214 took a plea deal and admitted guilt in the Idaho 4 case. And he also sent copies of that letter to every news agency he could think of. Oh, joy. So let's watch a little video clip and then discuss.
Big news in this case from my perspective. I woke up this morning with piss and vinegar in my soul, and I have in essence gone to war in a way. And I want to tell you what happened today. I want to use all these euphemisms. I dropped the gauntlet. I did a lot of shit today. Yesterday, I spent all night long drafting letters. The gist of it is I have formally filed a criminal investigation request against the Pullman Police Department. I have gone to the Idaho State Attorney General and filed a request to start an investigation and tell the Moscow Police Department to cease and desist altering any of their files while they're under investigation. I've also sent notices to the media, CNN, Fox, CBS, ABC News, Brian Enton, News Nation, Idaho News, among many media outlets, got a notice today of what I just did. Oh shit, you just kicked the hornet's nest. All right. What we did is we formally requested in writing with certified mail, making them respond to it, to both the Attorney General of the state of Idaho and Idaho State Police. I am requesting that Moscow Police Department be investigated for potential criminal behavior and hampering in an investigation. That is a request. They can tell me to F off. They can ignore it. They can do a lot of things. However, it is part of the public record at this point that someone has filed a request to investigate Moscow Police Department on what I feel is potentially criminal activity. And listen, you have to understand, the letter actually says this is not an accusation. It is a letter filed in behalf of public interest to make sure that truth and transparency is happening, that this was a fair trial. And so it's just asking. It's not an accusation. It's an investigation. We're asking for an investigation to be opened up in light of new things that have happened. And now you've got audio proof that it sounds like people were suffering either emotional or physical or both terror between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning. And guess what you also don't have? What you don't have is during the 20 minutes they say Brian Koberger did those crimes, when we now know that the victims were fighting back for their lives and had defensive wounds, there's no screams caught on camera. We've got no screams. You know what we have on camera? Lots of screaming between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning. I call that exculpatory information.
All right, let's talk about this. I mean, he has every right, freedom of speech. He has every right to file a ridiculous, ludicrous, waste of time request through certified mail asking the Attorney General of Idaho to investigate Moscow police for wrongdoing. He also thinks the FBI should be looking into this. Newsflash! The FBI was one of the investigating agencies on this case. So if you want Moscow police looked into, then why are you asking the FBI to look into them, considering that Moscow police got the tip about inmate 163214 from the FBI? I mean, it was a collaborative effort in order to catch him and bring him to justice. The FBI was part of that. But there's some flaws in Devil's Advocate's way of thinking. He thinks that this video and audio from 1112 King Lane is exculpatory, that it exonerates Brian, that it provides an alibi. No. Okay, so first of all, that camera is on 1112, okay? The house next door, not on 1122. Bulb camera around the front. Yes, it picked up muffled sounds from 1122 after 4 a.m. Okay, that was after the residents in 1112 were done with their party and everything was quieted down. Prior to that, they had a gathering. Okay, you could hear the people there in that house. That camera was picking up mainly those sounds. So you cannot definitively say that earlier in the evening, when there was all kinds of activity out and about and people at different houses in the area, that what you're hearing came from 1122. It most likely came from 1112. And as far as the screaming, if you listen, you can hear a lot of what sounds like they're either playing like beer pong, beer die, watching highlights of the football game. There was an MMA fight earlier that night, so they may have been watching a replay of that. But it was definitely whooping and hollering, and you could hear somebody saying like, "Oh, bro," and "Hey, guy," and you can hear girls giggling, and you can hear squills, and like any college party. Now, the one scream that's at like 2:27 a.m. that everybody thinks is so damning that everybody's like, well, not everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, some are like, "Oh, I'm shooketh. I'm crying. Oh, that was them being murdered." That is highly unlikely to be a human. Okay. I listened to it. It doesn't sound like a person screaming. I've been trying to find somebody that is an audio expert to analyze it for me. Now, I hate ChatGPT. I hate AI. I don't like using it. I think it's garbage in, garbage out. It's people that... I only use AI to do funny photos, things like that. You know, make Sam Darnold look like he's on Pepperidge Farm turnovers, that sort of thing. But I thought, well, maybe we could just see what they say about analyzing this sound. So I uploaded that scream into both Grok, which is Elon Musk's AI, and ChatGPT, and both of them came back saying it was non-human, that it was mechanical. It's saying the most likely is automobile or wind too close to the camera microphone. Now, I still don't know what to believe on that because AI, like I said, I don't trust it, but my gut from listening to it is telling me that is not a person. If it is somehow a person, then it likely is coming from a movie or something they were listening to in the 1112 house. It's too loud, too close to the camera to be from 1122. There's just no way, because that camera was a good 50 feet from Xana's room. Now, the next thing that you have to consider is we have proof of life for 3 of the 4 victims prior to 4 a.m. So if they were in fact being murdered at 2:30 a.m., like Devil's Advocate is trying to claim, then explain how we have Kaylee and Maddie texting Jack DeCour over and over. Explain how we have Maddie calling Bethany right before 3 a.m. also. And explain how closer to 4 a.m. or at 4 a.m., Xana retrieves her DoorDash. She ordered the DoorDash. There's proof in the documents that it was her DoorDash ID. And ISP detectives have said in interviews that she took it in the house. She retrieved it, took it in the house. If you also look at photos from the kitchen, you can see where there's the empty like wrappers from like the taco and things like that, where she had eaten it, and French fries were in the microwave. So there was proof of life prior to 4 a.m. So if you're trying to say that those noises and screams were from them being murdered, then explain how they were still alive before 4 a.m. like during that time frame. And then finally, the biggest thing is Ann Taylor, his defense attorney. Okay, she had been looking for alibi verification for inmate 163214. Remember, he had no alibi. And she kept saying, no, we're going to find information if I have to interview witnesses on the stand that will help me establish the alibi. And she missed a deadline, and a new one was given to her, and she still did not have an alibi defense by that deadline. Now, don't you think that if this video truly was displaying audio from the murders and that they were at 2:30 a.m., she wouldn't be shouting from the rooftops that she found his alibi? If the murders truly took place before he left Pullman, she would have been shouting that out to the world. Here's my client's alibi. I found his alibi. Nope, not a peep out of her about that. She never disputed the time frame that the murders happened in. She never disputed the audio on the 1112 King Road camera. Nothing. She didn't try challenging any of that. So what she tried challenging, trying to get thrown out, was the car identification from Ridge Road. So think about that. So yeah, Devil's Advocate has every right to file this, but the Attorney General of Idaho is going to look at that and go, not today, bro. It's not happening. And there's so many cold cases out there that could use attention. Why don't you put all this energy that you think you have as a social media detective into trying to help with one of those cases? Why are you putting all your energy into a closed case? A case that's been solved. A case where the perpetrator is rightly in prison. Why? Are you just going to be every year for the next 50 years going, oh, I can prove he didn't do it. I can prove he didn't do it. I mean, honestly, you are not smarter than his defense attorney. You are not smarter than the ISP. You are not smarter than the FBI. You're not smarter than MPD. You're not smarter than the DNA analyst, the FBI, forensic analysis, the medical examiner in Spokane, etc. And bottom line is, inmate 163214 also admitted in court, when asked 4 times, if he committed the crime. Yes. So, but hey, freedom of speech, so have at it. Just don't be too disappointed when the Attorney General doesn't open an investigation.